My first life was a quiet tragedy, played out in the muted tones of a loveless marriage. I was the loyal husband to Elena, a woman who saw me not as a partner, but as a stepping stone. My rival was Derek, a man I once called a friend, who moved with the slick confidence of a predator. He was everything I wasn't, or so Elena made me believe. My death wasn't physical, not at first. It was a slow, agonizing erosion of the soul, a daily poisoning by 1,000 casual cruelties. It came to a head on our 17th anniversary, a death blow delivered not with a weapon, but with a few carefully chosen words that made me wish for the sweet release of a final breath. Elena's voice slices through the soft murmur of the restaurant, sharp and cold as the ice in her water glass. "Marcus, apologize to Derek for ruining his evening by existing." The words hang in the air between us, a toxic cloud in the celebratory atmosphere of our anniversary dinner. Derek, seated across from me, smirks into his wine glass. He's been a constant fixture in our lives for the past year, a shadow that stretched and distorted the landscape of my marriage until it was unrecognizable, my best friend. Or so I'd thought. The champagne glass, heavy and slick with condensation, slips from my trembling fingers. It doesn't just fall, it seems to leap, a desperate, final act of defiance before it meets the polished marble floor. The crystal explodes, a shower of glittering shards that mirror the shattering of my 17-year marriage. The sound is a gunshot in the hushed elegance of the restaurant, turning heads, drawing gasps. But I hear nothing but the echo of Elena's words. "Apologize for existing." The metallic taste of blood fills my mouth. I've bitten down hard on my tongue, the pain a sharp, grounding anchor in the swirling chaos of my mind. I stare at Elena, my wife, the woman I promised to love, honor, and cherish. Her face is a mask of cold indifference, her eyes holding no flicker of remorse, only impatience. She's beautiful, statuesque, her dark hair swept up in an elegant chignon, her designer dress clinging to her curves. To the outside world, she is perfection. To me, she has become a monster, a beautiful, venomous creature who has slowly, methodically drained the life from me. My chest hollows out, a familiar, gaping emptiness that has become my constant companion. It's the space where my love for her used to reside, now a cold, barren wasteland. I've felt this hollowness grow over the years, fed by her casual dismissals, her thinly veiled contempt, the way she'd look at Derek with a hunger she hadn't shown me in a decade. "Well?" she prompts, her voice dropping to a hiss. "Are you going to just sit there and make things even more awkward?" Derek shifts in his seat, feigning discomfort. "Elena, it's fine. Don't be so hard on him." His words are meant to sound placating, but they are laced with a triumphant cruelty. He's enjoying this public execution of my dignity. I look from my wife to the man who has usurped my place in her heart, in my home, in my life, and I see them for what they are, two sides of the same tarnished coin. They share a predatory gleam in their eyes, a sense of entitlement that allows them to trample on others without a second thought. I should have seen it sooner. The late-night business meetings, the shared jokes I was never privy to, the way they'd stand just a little too close, their bodies humming with a secret energy. The truth is, I did see it. I just chose not to. Because acknowledging the truth meant acknowledging that my marriage, my life, was a lie. But now, the lie is splayed out on the marble floor, as broken and irreparable as the champagne glass. 24 hours. That's the thought that cuts through the fog of humiliation. In 24 hours, Elena's parents, our friends, our business associates, will be gathered in the meticulously manicured gardens of our home. They will be there to witness our vow renewal, a grand spectacle orchestrated by Elena to celebrate 17 years of our perfect marriage. The same ceremony where she plans to complete my humiliation, to put the final, gilded nail in the coffin of my self-respect. I can picture it now, her standing before our guests, a vision in white, speaking of our enduring love, while her lover looks on from the front row. The thought sends a fresh wave of nausea through me. No. A single word, silent, but screamed in the chambers of my heart. No more. The timer has started. Not on her ceremony of lies, but on my escape. She thinks she has me trapped, a cornered animal with no way out. She's underestimated me. They both have. They see me as weak, pathetic Marcus, the man who would apologize for the space he occupies in the world. But they've forgotten who I was before her, before them. They've forgotten the man who built a tech empire from nothing, the man who clawed his way to the top with nothing but his intellect and his grit. He's been dormant for a long time, buried under 17 years of compromise and concessions. But now, he's waking up, and he's angry. I slowly rise from my chair, my movements stiff, my gaze locked on Elena. The restaurant has faded into a blur of muted colors and hushed whispers. There is only her beautiful, treacherous face. "Excuse me," I say, my voice surprisingly steady. "I seem to have lost my appetite." I turn and walk away, leaving them in the wreckage. I don't look back. I can feel their eyes on me, a mixture of shock and contempt. Let them watch. As I step out into the cool night air, the city lights a glittering tapestry before me. I feel a strange sense of calm settle over me. The shock is receding, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. The game has changed. She wanted an apology. She's about to get a war. And it all starts now. The clock is ticking. For her. The ride home is a blur of streetlights and shadows. The driver keeps glancing at me in the rearview mirror, no doubt wondering about the man in the expensive suit with a storm raging in his eyes. I don't care. My mind is a whirlwind of calculations, strategies, and a cold, burning fury. 17 years. 17 years of my life, my love, my loyalty. All for a woman who would ask me to apologize for breathing. I walk into the sterile silence of our cavernous house. It's a showpiece, not a home, every surface polished to a gleaming, impersonal shine, just like its mistress. Her touch is everywhere. In the abstract art that costs more than a car, the minimalist furniture that's as uncomfortable as it is stylish, the faint, cloying scent of her perfume that lingers in the air. For the first time, I don't feel like an intruder in my own home. I feel like an avenging ghost. I go straight to my study, the one room that feels like mine. It's lined with books, not for show, but because I've read them. It's cluttered with prototypes and schematics, the lifeblood of the company I built. I sit at my desk, the leather cool against my skin, and pull out my phone. My fingers fly across the screen, my movements precise and deliberate. I don't call my own lawyer. That would be too predictable. Elena is many things, but she is not stupid. She's been planning her exit for months, laying the groundwork for a divorce that would leave me with nothing but the clothes on my back. I know this because I'm not as oblivious as she thinks. I've been watching her, just as she's been underestimating me. I find the number I'm looking for in her recently deleted emails, an easy recovery for someone with my skills. A smug smile plays on my lips. She's been meeting with him, one of the most ruthless divorce attorneys in the city, a shark known for eviscerating his opponents in court. She thinks he's her secret weapon. He's about to become mine. I dial the number. He answers on the second ring, his voice smooth and confident. "Mr. Abernathy, I say, my tone as cold as the grave. My name is Marcus Thorne. My wife, Elena, has been consulting with you. I'd like to hire you. There's a pause on the other end of the line, a flicker of professional surprise. Mr. Thorne, this is unorthodox. Is there a conflict of interest? I ask, already knowing the answer. She's only consulted, not retained. She was waiting, no doubt, for the perfect moment to strike, after the vow renewal, after she'd secured her position. No, he says slowly. No conflict. But I must ask, why me? Because you're the best, I say, the words a bitter pill. And because my wife thinks you're her ace in the hole. I'd like to disabuse her of that notion. I'm prepared to pay your retainer right now. With our joint credit card. Another pause. This one shorter. I can almost hear the gears turning in his head, the calculation of a massive payday, the thrill of a high-profile, deliciously messy divorce. I'll have the paperwork sent to you within the hour, he says, his voice now tinged with a predatory excitement. I hang up, a small, grim victory. The first shot has been fired. An hour later, Elena sweeps into the house, her face a thundercloud. Derek is not with her. She must have sent him home, wanting to confront me alone. Marcus, she calls out, her voice echoing in the marble foyer. Where are you? We need to talk about your behavior tonight. It was childish and embarrassing. I walk out of my study to meet her, my heart a steady, rhythmic drum against my ribs. The fear, the hurt, the hollow ache, they're still there, but they are overshadowed by a new, empowering resolve. Elena, I say, my voice calm, cutting her off, we do need to talk. She stops, taken aback by my tone. She's used to me being conciliatory, apologetic. She's not used to this version of me, the one who meets her gaze without flinching. Not now, Marcus, she says, waving a dismissive hand. Derek and I are planning the seating arrangements for tomorrow. You've caused enough trouble for one night. Actually, yes, now, I say, taking a step closer. The air crackles between us. Pack your bags. Her jaw drops. For a moment, she is speechless, her mask of composure slipping to reveal a flicker of genuine shock. What did you say? You heard me, I say, my voice low and even. Pack your bags. I want you out of my house. She lets out a sharp, incredulous laugh. Your house? This is our house, Marcus, and you can't be serious. After 17 years, you're throwing me out over one little disagreement? It wasn't a disagreement, Elena, I say, the words like ice chips. It was a demand for me to apologize for my own existence, and it was the last straw. Her eyes narrow. So that's it? You're going to throw a tantrum and end our marriage? No, I say, a cold smile touching my lips. You ended our marriage. I'm just finally acknowledging it. I pull out my phone and show her the email from my new attorney. I've known about your affair for 6 months, Elena. I've been documenting everything. The trips, the gifts, the late nights. I've also been moving assets. Half of our liquid assets are now in a separate account, in my name only. The house, the cars, the art, they're all from the proceeds of my company, which I started before we were married. You'll get what the law says you're entitled to, but not a penny more. The life you've grown so accustomed to is over. The color drains from her face. She stares at the phone, then at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. The confident, imperious woman from the restaurant is gone, replaced by a cornered, panicked animal. You can't, she stammers. The vow renewal, my parents... The guests arrive tomorrow at 2 p.m., I say, checking my watch. That gives you less than 18 hours. You have a choice. You can pack a bag, leave quietly tonight, and we can release a joint statement about a mutual, amicable separation. Or you can stay. And tomorrow, instead of a vow renewal, our guests will be treated to a public announcement of our divorce, complete with the sordid details of your affair. The choice is yours, but either way, we are done. I turn and walk back into my study, leaving her standing in the cold, sterile foyer, the truth of her situation crashing down around her. The silence that follows is more satisfying than any shouting match could ever be. It's the sound of her world crumbling. It's the sound of my freedom. The clock is ticking, and for the first time in a very long time, I feel like I'm the one in control. I don't sleep. Instead, I watch. My study becomes a command center. The warm glow of my monitors a stark contrast to the cold fury that fuels me. I've had my home security system linked to my private servers for years, a precaution I took when the company first started gaining traction. It was for corporate espionage, a way to protect my intellectual property. I never imagined I'd be using it to watch the implosion of my own life. On one screen, I have a live feed of Derek's penthouse office. It was easy enough to gain access. Derek, for all his blustering confidence, is careless with his digital security. A simple phishing email, disguised as a confirmation for a reservation at a restaurant he and Elena frequent, was all it took. Now I have access to his webcams, his microphones, his entire digital life. At 9:17 a.m., she storms in. Elena. Her face is a wreck, her mascara streaked, her designer dress from last night rumpled and stained. The clicking of her heels against his polished concrete floors is a staccato rhythm of desperation. She's not the poised, untouchable ice queen now. She's a woman on the verge of losing everything. "He knows, Derek!" she cries, her voice a raw, panicked sob. "He knows everything!" Derek, ever the picture of calm, rises from behind his massive mahogany desk. The sun streams through the floor-to-ceiling windows, glinting off the chrome and glass of his office, a shrine to his unearned success. It's a view I paid for, I think, with a fresh surge of bitterness. My work, my sweat, my sleepless nights all funneled into this monument to my own betrayal. "Calm down, Elena," he says, his voice smooth as silk, but his eyes are cold, calculating. "Tell me exactly what happened." She paces, her movements frantic, her arms wrapped around herself as if to hold her crumbling world together. She recounts my ultimatum, her voice rising with each word, a symphony of disbelief and outrage. "He's kicking me out! He's frozen the assets! He hired Abernathy, my own lawyer, Derek—" Derek listens, his expression unreadable. He's not offering comfort, not a single word of reassurance. He's processing, analyzing, formulating a counterattack. "So the worm has turned," he says, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "I didn't think he had it in him." "This isn't funny, Derek," she shrieks. "My parents are flying in today, the caterers, the flowers. Everything is paid for. What am I supposed to do?" "You're supposed to handle it," he says, his voice losing its silken edge, replaced by a hard, dismissive tone. He walks over to a sleek, modern bar in the corner of the room and pours himself a drink. "You were the one who was supposed to have him wrapped around your little finger. You were the one who assured me he was a spineless fool who would never see it coming." She stammers, her frantic energy seeming to deflate in the face of his coldness. "I thought he was—" "Clearly you were wrong," he says, taking a sip of his drink. He turns to face her, his eyes like chips of ice. "But this changes nothing. We still have a play." He walks back to his desk and pulls a small, silver USB drive from a drawer. He holds it up, a glint of triumph in his eyes. "What is that?" she asks, her voice barely a whisper. "Leverage," he says. "Our insurance policy." He pauses, letting the word hang in the air. It seems we'll have to cash it in a little earlier than planned. A cold dread settles in my stomach, a familiar, sickening feeling. I know what this is. Derek is launching his own counterattack. I don't understand, she says, though the fear in her eyes tells me she does. It's simple, my love, he says, his voice dripping with condescension. You are going to go back to Marcus. You will cry. You will beg. You will tell him you'll do anything to make this right. And then you will tell him that unless he agrees to sign over his 50% stake in the startup, our little indiscretions will be made very, very public. Elena pales, her hand flying to her mouth. You wouldn't. Oh, I would, he says, his smile widening. There are photos, Elena, videos, quite a collection. I'm sure the board of directors at your husband's company, not to mention his investors, would be very interested to see what their golden boy's wife gets up to in her spare time. His reputation, his company, it would all be destroyed. You pathetic little man, she whispers, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and fury. You think you can threaten me? I'm not threatening, Elena, he says, his voice dangerously soft. I'm promising. You have built your entire life on Marcus's success. Do you really want to see it all go up in flames? Or do you want to secure your future? Our future? Derek won't let you destroy us, she says, the words a desperate, hollow plea. But who is she trying to convince, him or herself? Derek's using you, I whisper to the screen, the words a bitter taste in my mouth. Just like you used me. The warm afternoon sun streaming through Derek's floor-to-ceiling windows seems to mock the cold, sterile scene unfolding within. They are two vipers in a glass cage, turning on each other now that their prey has fought back. Elena stares at him, her face a mask of dawning horror. She sees it now. She sees him for what he is, not a savior, not a partner, but a user. A man who would burn her to the ground to save himself. She has a choice to make, and as I watch her, I realize that I do too. I thought this was about a divorce, about reclaiming my life. But it's become something more. He's not just threatening to release compromising photos. He's trying to steal my company, the one thing I have left that is truly mine. A new wave of anger, cold and clean, washes over me. He thinks he can blackmail me. He thinks he can use my own wife, my own pain, as a weapon against me. He's about to find out how wrong he is. I minimize the video feed and pull up another screen, a secure line to my business partner, Sam. He's more than a partner. He's the only person in the world I trust. Sam, I say, my voice tight. We have a problem, a big one. As I begin to explain, my eyes drift back to the other screen. I watch as Elena, defeated, takes the USB drive from Derek's hand. She's made her choice. She's chosen the devil she knows. But she doesn't know the storm that's coming. And I'm going to make sure it washes them both away. Marcus, are you sitting down? Sam's voice is grim, a stark contrast to his usual unflappable demeanor. He's my rock, my co-founder, the yin to my yang. Where I am the visionary, the creator, he is the pragmatist, the protector. He's the one who sees the threats I'm too busy to notice. I've been sitting for 10 hours straight, Sam, I say, my voice raw with exhaustion and fury. Just tell me. I've just finished telling him about Derek's blackmail attempt, about Elena's complicity. I expect him to be angry, to rage on my behalf. But his silence on the other end of the line is more chilling than any outburst. It's worse than you think, he says, his voice low. Much worse. The cold dread in my stomach, a constant companion for the last day, crystallizes into a block of ice. What do you mean? Derek isn't just trying to blackmail you for your shares, Sam says, and I can hear the click of his keyboard in the background. He's trying to cover his tracks. He's been embezzling, Marcus, from his own company. The words don't compute at first. Derek's company, a high-flying investment firm, has always been the gold standard, the benchmark against which I measured my own success. He was the one with the old money, the connections, the pedigree. I was the upstart, the tech nerd who got lucky. How? I ask, my mind racing. His firm is one of the most successful in the city. It's a house of cards, Sam says, his voice tight with a controlled anger. He's been cooking the books for years, creating phantom investments, falsifying reports. He's been funding his entire lifestyle. The penthouse, the cars, the parties. Elena with stolen money. His investors think they're seeing massive returns, but they're just seeing their own money shuffled around in a classic Ponzi scheme. I lean back in my chair, the leather groaning in protest. My mind flashes back through the years, through all the dinners, the golf games, the casual conversations about the market. The signs were there, hidden in plain sight. His extravagant spending, his cavalier attitude towards risk, the way he always seemed to be one step ahead of everyone else. I'd mistaken it for genius. It was just fraud. But what does that have to do with us? I ask, a sickening premonition dawning. That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Sam says, his voice laced with a bitter irony. Where does a man who's stealing millions from his clients launder that much cash? How does he make it clean? The silence stretches, heavy and suffocating. And then, the pieces click into place, a horrifying mosaic of deceit and betrayal. No, I whisper, the word a ghost of a breath. He wouldn't. He would, Sam says, his voice hard as steel. And he did. For the past 18 months, Elena has been helping him. She's been using our startup, Marcus. She's been laundering the money through us. The room spins. I grip the edge of my desk, my knuckles white. Our company. My baby. The thing I built with my own 2 hands. The embodiment of my dreams, my integrity. It's been tainted, used as a washing machine for a criminal's dirty money. How? I managed to choke out. Elena's in charge of our charitable foundation, Sam explains, his voice a steady, relentless drip of terrible facts. It was her pet project, remember? The one she insisted on running herself. She's been creating fake charities, shell corporations, and funneling Derek's stolen money through them as donations. Then, she'd have the foundation grant the money to a series of tech incubators, also owned by Derek, for research and development. From there, the money would be invested back into legitimate businesses, clean as a whistle. She's been a ghost, a phantom in our own books, moving money with a skill that, frankly, is terrifying. I feel a wave of nausea so profound I think I might be sick. It's not just the affair. It's not just the blackmail. It's this ultimate betrayal. She didn't just cheat on me. She used me. She used my life's work to enable a criminal, to build a life of lies on a foundation of theft. I've been digging ever since you told me you were suspicious of their business trips, Sam continues. I hired a forensic accountant, a good one. He found the first thread this morning. Now the whole thing is unraveling. The evidence is overwhelming. Bank statements, wire transfers, shell corporation documents. It's all there. The despair that has been my shadow for so long begins to recede, burned away by a white-hot rage. I'm not the victim in a domestic drama anymore. I'm not just a man divorcing a cheating wife. I'm a man standing on the precipice of a financial catastrophe, a criminal conspiracy that could not only destroy my company, but could also land me in prison. What do we do? I ask, my voice hoarse. I've already made a call, Sam says, to a friend at the FBI, an old college buddy. He's in the white-collar crime division. I gave him the broad strokes. He's very interested." The FBI. The words echo in the silent room. This has escalated beyond anything I could have imagined. "They're moving fast," Sam says. "They're getting a warrant. By tomorrow evening, Derek will either be in handcuffs or fleeing the country. And Elena?" He pauses, and in that pause, I feel a flicker of the old, misplaced loyalty, a ghost of the man who once loved her. "What about Elena?" I ask. "She's an accomplice, Marcus," Sam says, his voice gentle but firm. "A key player. She's facing federal charges. Conspiracy, money laundering. She could be looking at serious prison time." I close my eyes, the image of Elena's panicked face in Derek's office flashing in my mind. She thinks she's fighting for a bigger piece of our marital assets. She has no idea she's about to lose her freedom. I realize then that I am at the center of this storm. I'm the one they both underestimated. I'm the one who holds all the cards. I'm not just a victim, I'm the key. I'm the only one with enough evidence, enough knowledge, enough motivation to stop them. The blackmail, the USB drive with their sordid affair, it's all a smokescreen. The real prize isn't my shares. It's their freedom. And they think they can use my own humiliation to buy their escape. I open my eyes, a new, chilling clarity washing over me. The path forward is no longer a tangled mess of hurt and anger. It's a straight line, a tightrope walk over a chasm of financial ruin and criminal charges. The vow renewal, the gathering of our friends, our family, our business associates. It was meant to be the stage for my humiliation. Now, it will be the stage for their downfall. "Sam," I say, my voice steady, cold, and clear. "Tell your friend at the FBI that the party starts at 2 p.m. tomorrow. And tell him to bring his friends. It's going to be a day to remember. I'm not just divorcing a cheating wife. I'm taking down a criminal enterprise. And the clock is ticking down to the final act. The vow renewal venue is a masterpiece of Elena's creation. A sprawling botanical garden transformed into a fairy tale setting of twinkling lights, cascading white roses, and shimmering silks. It's breathtaking. And it's all paid for with stolen money. The thought leaves a bitter taste in my mouth. I arrive early, the morning sun casting long shadows across the manicured lawns. The staff, a small army of caterers, florists, and planners, move with a quiet efficiency, oblivious to the drama that is about to unfold. I find the gazebo where the ceremony is to take place, a beautiful, ornate structure draped in white roses. A small, elegant lectern stands at the center, a single, leather-bound folder resting on its surface. Elena's speech. I open it, my hands surprisingly steady. The words are a saccharine confection of lies, a carefully crafted narrative of our unbreakable bond, our journey of love and partnership. It speaks of my strength, my support, my unwavering devotion. It's a performance piece, designed to lull our guests into a state of sentimental bliss before she delivered the killing blow in our private war. A cold, mirthless smile touches my lips. She's a good writer, but I'm better. I remove her speech from the folder and replace it with my own. No flowery prose, no sentimental lies. Just the cold, hard truth. I've spent the last few hours with Sam, printing, collating, assembling my own narrative. The first page is a bank statement, a single transaction highlighted in yellow, a $250,000 donation from our charitable foundation to a shell corporation registered in the Cayman Islands. The next page is an FBI surveillance photo, taken just last week, of Elena and Derek lunching at an expensive restaurant, their hands entwined, their faces a picture of intimate conspiracy. And the final page, the pièce de résistance. A copy of an email from Derek to his offshore banker. An email I intercepted this morning. It's a confession. A panicked, rambling message detailing his entire scheme. a desperate plea for help in moving his assets before the authorities close in. I place the new documents in the folder and close it, my heart pounding a steady, rhythmic beat. The trap is set. As I turn to leave, I hear her voice. "Marcus." Elena is standing at the entrance to the gazebo, a vision in a white silk dressing gown. Her hair and makeup are flawless, her face a carefully constructed mask of serene beauty. But her eyes are a storm of panic. "What are you doing here?" she asks, her voice tight, brittle. "Just admiring your handiwork," I say, gesturing to the opulent surroundings. "It's quite a production." "Marcus, please," she says, taking a step towards me. Her hands are clasped in front of her, a gesture of supplication that is as false as the smile she forces onto her lips. "We need to talk. We can work this out." "The way we worked out your gambling debts?" I ask, my voice soft, but the words are a dagger. It was years ago, a secret she begged me to keep, a one-time mistake that I paid off without a word to anyone. Now I see it for what it was, the first crack in the facade, the first glimpse of the selfish, reckless woman who stood before me. Her face pales. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" I say, taking a step towards her, invading her space. "Or what about the business trips that were actually romantic getaways with Derek? Did you work those out too?" "I never meant for it to go this far," she whispers, her eyes welling with tears. They are real tears, I realize with a jolt, not of remorse, but of fear. "But you meant for Derek to mean more than our marriage," I counter, my voice relentless. "You meant to use my company as your personal piggy bank, as a laundromat for your lover's stolen money." A sob escapes her lips. "He promised me. He promised he would protect me." "He promised to use you," I correct her. "And when you were no longer useful, he was going to discard you, just like you were planning to do to me." "It's not that simple," she says, her voice breaking. I'm pregnant, Marcus." The world stops. The birdsong, the rustle of leaves, the distant hum of traffic, it all fades into a deafening silence. Pregnant. The word hangs in the air between us, a grenade with the pin pulled. 3 months, she continues, her voice barely audible. It's not yours." Of course it's not. The final, cruelest twist of the knife. A child with him. "And Derek?" I ask, my voice a hollow echo of itself. "Is he thrilled at the prospect of fatherhood?" She flinches, a fresh wave of tears streaming down her face. "He wants me to run, to disappear with him. He has a plane waiting. He says it's the only way. To avoid prosecution." So, that's her play. She came here not to reconcile, but to gauge my reaction, to see if there was any chance of salvaging her situation before she bolted. The sound of cars pulling into the driveway breaks the spell. The guests are arriving. I look at my watch. It's 12:30 p.m. The FBI raid is scheduled for 1:30 p.m. The guests will be seated by 2 p.m. The timeline is closing in, a noose tightening around her. "You have a choice, Elena," I say, my voice devoid of any emotion, a final one. She looks at me, her eyes wide with a desperate, pleading hope. "You have 30 minutes, I say, my voice cold and hard as the diamond on her finger. "You can get on that plane with Derek and become an international fugitive, always looking over your shoulder, always running. Or you can stay. You can walk into that gazebo, pick up that folder, and read what's inside. You can tell the truth for once in your life. You can testify against Derek, cooperate with the FBI, and maybe, just maybe, save yourself. The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking." I turn and walk away, leaving her standing in the rose-draped gazebo, a beautiful, tragic figure at the center of her own self-made ruin. She has 30 minutes to decide which life to destroy, his or her own. And for the first time, I don't care what she chooses. My own path is clear, and it leads far, far away from her. The rose garden is a sea of pastels and champagne flutes. Guests mingle on the lush lawn, their laughter and polite conversation a surreal soundtrack to the impending implosion. I stand on the periphery, a ghost at my own funeral, nursing a glass of sparkling water. Elena's parents, Arthur and Catherine, a formidable pair carved from old money and quiet disapproval, approach me. "Marcus," Arthur says, his tone as starched as his collar. Elena seems distressed. "Is everything all right?" "Everything is exactly as it should be," I reply, my voice calm, my gaze fixed on the gazebo where Elena now stands, a pale, trembling statue in her white dress. She hasn't moved since I left her there. She's staring at the lectern, at the leather-bound folder that holds her fate. The minutes tick by, each one a lifetime. The string quartet begins to play, a signal for the guests to take their seats. It's 1:30 p.m. Showtime. As if on cue, a fleet of dark sedans appears at the end of the long, tree-lined driveway, their movements silent and swift. They don't drive to the valet. They drive onto the lawn, their tires crushing the perfect grass. Men in dark suits and windbreakers emblazoned with 3 bold yellow letters emerge, their movements economical, their faces grim. The music falters, then dies. A wave of confused murmurs ripples through the crowd. 2 agents, a man and a woman, approach me. Sam is with them, his face a mask of grim determination. "Mr. Thorne?" the male agent asks. "Yes," I say, "and Agent Miller, FBI, is that him?" He nods towards the front row, where Derek is seated, a smug, proprietary smile on his face as he watches Elena. "That's him," I confirm. The agents move, their path cutting through the bewildered guests like sharks through a school of fish. Derek's smile falters as they approach, his eyes darting from them to me, a flicker of confusion turning to dawning panic. "Derek Jansen," Agent Miller says, his voice a calm, authoritative boom in the sudden silence. "You're under arrest." A collective gasp ripples through the crowd. Derek leaps to his feet, his face a mask of outrage. "On what grounds? This is ridiculous. Do you know who I am?" "For a conspiracy to commit wire fraud, mail fraud, and money laundering," the agent replies, as his partner snaps handcuffs onto Derek's wrists. "You set me up, Marcus!" Derek bellows, his eyes wild, his composure shattered. He thrashes against the agent's grip, his expensive suit bunching at the shoulders. He looks pathetic, a cornered rat stripped of his power. "No, Derek," I say, my voice carrying across the silent garden. "You set yourself up." His eyes find Elena's. She's watching, her face ashen, her hands gripping the lectern. "Elena, tell them! Tell them this is a mistake!" Elena doesn't speak. She just stares, her eyes filled with a terrifying, hollow emptiness. "Derek promised me everything," she screams, the words tearing from her throat, a raw, ragged sound of despair. It's not directed at me, or at the agents, but at the universe, at the cruel twist of fate that has brought her to this moment. "And I promised you 17 years, I reply, the words quiet, but they cut through her hysteria. She turns to me, her eyes blazing with a desperate, unhinged fury. "You never understood me." "I understood you enough to let you destroy yourself," I say, the words a final, sad truth. "I loved him," she shrieks, the cry of a woman who has lost her final gamble. "You loved his money," I correct her, my voice devoid of heat, of anger, of anything but a profound, weary sadness. and now it's gone. The agents begin to lead Derek away, his protests dissolving into incoherent muttering. The guests are on their feet, a chaotic tableau of shock and disbelief. My vow renewal has transformed into a crime scene. As Derek is led past the gazebo, Elena makes her choice. She stumbles forward, her movements clumsy, her perfect facade utterly destroyed. She snatches something from her dress pocket. Not the folder. It's the silver USB drive Derek gave her. His insurance policy. Her leverage. She holds it out to me, her hand trembling violently. "Here," she whispers, her voice a broken shard of what it once was. "Take it. It's everything. The accounts, the transfers, everything." In that moment, I see her for what she truly is. Not a monster, not a villain, but a weak, desperate woman who, in the end, will always choose herself. She's not giving me the evidence to see justice served. She's giving it to me as a bargaining chip, a desperate, last-ditch attempt to save herself. I take the USB drive from her. Our fingers brush, and I feel a jolt, not of electricity, but of a final, irrevocable severing. Our marriage ends where it began, in a garden, in front of our family and friends. But this time there are no promises, no illusions, no hope. There is only the cold, hard reality of our choices. And this time, I'm the one walking away with my dignity intact. I turn my back on her, on the wreckage of our life together, and walk towards the FBI agents, towards Sam, towards my future. I don't look back. There's nothing left to see. The garden, once a symbol of her lies, is now the scene of my liberation. And as I walk away, I feel the weight of 17 years lift from my shoulders. I am finally, blessedly free. Elena got 5 years, Derek got 15, and I got my life back. I say the words out loud, the sound absorbed by the newly painted walls of my home office. 6 months. It feels like a lifetime ago that this room was her walk-in closet, a temple to her relentless consumerism crammed with designer bags and shoes that cost more than my first car. Now it's filled with books, blueprints, and the quiet hum of my new life. Sam and I sold the startup. The news of the scandal, of my unwitting role in it all, could have destroyed us. But the truth, as it turned out, was a powerful disinfectant. The FBI's investigation, aided by the evidence on Derek's USB drive, was swift and thorough. It cleared my name, my company, and laid bare the intricate web of deceit woven by my wife and her lover. In the end, the story of my betrayal, of my fight to reclaim my company's integrity, became a strange sort of asset. We were the company that survived a near-fatal blow, the one that stood for transparency and resilience. An offer came in, a staggering 8-figure sum from a tech giant that valued our story as much as our software. We took it. It was clean money this time, and it was all mine. I bought out Sam's share, giving him a golden parachute that would allow him to retire to a tropical island and pursue his lifelong dream of writing bad poetry. He deserved it. He was the brother I chose, the one who stood by me when the one I'd married tried to burn me to the ground. I kept the house. At first I thought I'd sell it, that the memories were too toxic, too deeply embedded in the walls. But then I realized that would be letting her win, letting her haunt me from afar. So I exorcised her, one room at a time. I tore out the cold, minimalist furniture, the pretentious art, the acres of white marble. I replaced it with warmth, with color, with life. I turned her sterile sanctuary into a home, a place that felt like me. I kept her engagement ring. It sits on my desk, a cold, glittering paperweight. It's not a memento, not a symbol of a lost love. There was no lost love, only a long, elaborate illusion. No, I keep it as a reminder of the cost of willful blindness, of the price of sacrificing your own soul for a beautiful lie. A reminder that some apologies are worth more than others. The one she demanded of me, the one for my very existence, was an act of war. The one I finally gave to myself, the one for staying so long, for believing I was worth so little, was an act of liberation. Sometimes late at night, when the house is quiet, I think of her. I picture her in a prison cell, stripped of her designer clothes, her beauty fading under the harsh fluorescent lights. I don't feel pity. I don't feel anger. I feel nothing. She is a ghost, a character in a story that is over. Her child, a boy, was born 2 months ago. Her parents are raising him. Another life, another soul, caught in the wreckage of her choices. I feel a pang of sadness for him, for the legacy he inherits. But it is not my burden to bear. The woman I thought I'd married never existed. She was a fiction, a carefully constructed character in a play of her own devising. But the man I became in her absence, the man who rose from the ashes of her betrayal, he is real. He is flawed. He is scarred. But he is strong. He is a man I am finally, unequivocally proud to know. I look out the window, at the city lights twinkling in the distance. The world is vast, full of possibilities I had forgotten existed. For 17 years my world was small, confined by the walls of her ambition, her contempt. Now it is limitless. A new chapter has begun, a new story, and this time I am the only author. I pick up a pen, a fresh sheet of paper in front of me, and I begin to write. There will be no more apologies for taking up space in the world. My existence is not a mistake. It is a declaration, and I am just getting started.